Yo, what's up? Today I'm going to be going over my, I guess, explosive, ignition stacking, freaking whatever you want to call this shit. Also, peep the freaking capybara. Is that not the best pet that's ever been added to a video game? That shit is beautiful. But besides the point, let's get into this build, okay? So, this build right here is using a skill called Smelter's Wrath. Now, mind you, this skill is going to be something that you don't get till later on in your Forge Guard skill tree. I think you need like 35 or 40 points. I'm not 100% sure what the exact number is, but between 35 and 40 points on your Forge Guard tree. And yes, obviously, you're going to have to pick Forge Guard to make this build because as you see it, it's on the second half of the tree. And as y'all know, for people who haven't played before, maybe you can only go halfway on each of the other respective trees that you don't select. So let's just get into what I have so far. I'm currently level 77, so I just want to do what I currently have and what my plans going forward are for the build. Um, First, I'll go over like the Sentinel main class. I think you just want to take 8 into Juggernaut. That's going to get you Strength, Fire Res, Void Res. Then you're going to take 7 into Relentless. That's going to give you increased damage and Stun Avoidance. And then finally, you're going to take 5 in the Time and Fate, which is going to give you mana and health gained when you use Rive, which Rive is going to be one of our main skills for this class. And that's going to be one of our main sources of ignition. Moving into the Forge Guard tree, okay, some of the important passives that you're going to want to max out and take. First, you're going to want to put 10 in the weapons master. You don't have to do all 10 at one time. If you don't want to, you can do like 5 and then switch it up because then you're also going to want to put 10 into fresh from the forge. Let me explain this. Okay, so weapons master gets you 10 extra strength, which is important. I forgot to mention that. But fresh from the forge is going to give you the only two important ones are the 10 the physical melee damage and 10 the fire damage. This build does not use throwing skills, but I thought it would be important to have the extra melee and fire damage. And if you are using a throwing build by chance on a different build, this is a really good passive to take, especially even if you're doing paladin, because this is still in the first half of the tree, so you could still take this. This would be really good for paladin. Moving on, currently I have 7 into Guardian, which is going to give you health, increased stun chance, and increased health regen. I'm definitely going to max this out eventually. Not currently, but we're at where we're at. Then you're going to want to put 10 into Smelter's Might. Also very important, as you see. It's mostly important for the 70% ignition chance, but it's also very good because now you also get 70% bleed chance. So you're also putting stacks of bleed on people at the same time. So not only will you be putting stacks of ignite, you'll be putting stacks of bleed, which is really cool. Another good one. 5 out of 5 on hammer and anvil. This is going to give you 100% armor shred chance, which basically allows you to do more physical damage, which is really nice. So yeah, make sure you take that. That is a good one right there. Currently I'm 3 out of 6 in this, and I'm definitely going to max this out also eventually, but I think this is also very important to take 6 out of 6 out eventually, because you're going to get plus 6 strength, and it's 2, 2, 2, so I guess you get 12% increased health when it's maxed out, and 6 strength when it's maxed out. So just having increased health is helpful. And then the final thing you're going to want to take on this tree, at least currently that I have planned, is take 8 out of 8 on Avatar of War. As you see, that's just going to give you 64% increased fire damage and 64% increased physical damage. Really nice, just a little addition to some fire damage. The other tree you're mostly going to be in here is the Paladin tree. Currently I'm not done here yet. As you see right here, I have 6 out of 8 in Conviction. You're going to want to max this out eventually. As you see, it just gives you a ton of good stuff. The only thing that doesn't matter here is the lightning and the lightning penetration, but the physical and fire damage and the penetration for physical and fire penetration, really good. I'm going to max that out eventually. Then you're going to want to take 10 out of 10 here. I'm currently at 9 out of 10. As you see, just a ton of ignition chance. You're going to be putting tons of stacks of ignition on people, as well as doing a lot of explosions, which is cool. This whole build kind of centers around ignition and fire damage. And the other thing that you're definitely going to max out is whatever that says. I think it's right. I don't even know. Whatever that says, you're gonna want to max it out. All right. Yeah, Raya's strength. You're going to max out Raya's strength. As you see, it's gonna give you strength, but on top of that, per 2 strength, you're gonna gain percentages into fire res shred chance, which is really good. So fire res shred is gonna be it's gonna ignore their fire resistance, which will obviously make your fire damage do a lot more. That's currently it, all I have for my passives right now. But yeah, you're gonna want to max out these three for sure. And if you're missing out on some reses, I would advise to take some into Defiance. That'll help with your cold fire and am I stupid? Oh, lightning. Yeah, lightning reses. And then obviously on Forge Guard, you're gonna want to max out Guardian and Might. I don't really know what else I want to do in this tree yet, depending on kind of where I am moving into late 90s, because I have 6 more here, which will put me in about the mid 80s, and then I have about another 9 here. So about at level 90, I'll have like 10 points to play with, and you can kind of put it wherever you need to at that point. But yeah, let's get into the actual build itself. So the first skill you're gonna want is Rive. Um, like I said, this is gonna be one of your main sources of generating ignition, so it's very helpful. I took 4 out of 4 on champion. That should give you increased damage and stun chance. Weapon specialist, I wouldn't advise taking till later on, but you can take it really whenever you want to. As you see, if you're running a mace, it does additional melee fire damage per point of attunement. If you're using a mace, I use a mace on this build, and I'm going to get into that later because the mace I have is really good for this build. You're going to take 4 out of 4 inbound weapon. This is just going to help you create some forged weapons that help, just do a little bit of damage for you. But you mainly take this just so that you can get foe cleaver. As you see, if you're using a 2-handed weapon, stats on that weapon that directly add damage, increase damage, or add a chance to apply an element on a hit, have double effect for Rive. So that's mainly why you take this. I just figured I'd max it out because I didn't have anywhere else to put the point at. You're gonna put a 3 out of 3 on Sever. That's gonna be 150% first strike ignition chance. You're gonna put 3 out of 3 on Twisting Fangs, which is Rive's second strike has a chance to ignite enemies, 150%. And then you're gonna take 3 out of 3 on Savagery, which Rive hits deal more damage to ignited targets. That I don't know going into the later aspects of this game will be useful because you're really just using this to stack ignition stacks on people, and Rive isn't actually itself used for damage per se. It's more just a spam for either to use this and gain mana and health, or to just stack ignition. I might later take this off and put it elsewhere, but yeah, I put my last one in Massacre to get bleed chance plus 25%. I might honestly later on take this off and put the last 30 here to get 100% bleed chance per strike, so that way I'm stacking bleed and ignition. But this is currently what I have. Mind you, I already have maxed out all my 5 skills, so this is currently what the build looks like. Lunge, you're going to be using lunge as not only a movement skill, but to heal yourself, and go from pack to pack and just heal and heal and heal, because this build is going to be in the middle of everything, and mind you, the main skill you use in this build, you cannot move with while using, so we'll get into that in a second. So, you're going to put out 5 out of 5 at Dawn Charge. It's going to gain 40% of your missing health when you use lunge, which is good. If you're in a pack and you're about to die, you can lunge out and get some extra health back. You're going to put 1 into here, into Warrior's Renewal. That mainly is just used to get this. I don't know what that says. I'm a dumbass. You're going to put 2 out of 5 in here. This doesn't matter. It deals more damage to high health. Boo-hoo. You're not really using it for damage. But what you do get is right here at Double Strike. This is going to give you +1 lunge charges. It's going to be a plus 15% increased cooldown length. But honestly, it doesn't even really matter. Because you're going to lunge, fight, lunge. And before you know it, you're already going to have your second lunge back. So it's nice to have that. Put 2 out of 5 in this right here. You're going to put 1 here, and then you're going to put 2 into Holy Incursion. These 2 don't really matter. Like I said, you're not doing damage, and this is just also to help kill, but below a certain kill threshold. But you're going to put 2 out of 2 on Holy Incursion, which is going to give you 100% chance to smite every time you use lunge, which, if you don't know, we'll get into smite in a second, but you can actually buff the shit out of this ability, technically, by having smite on your specialization bar. But also on top of that, I'm going to put 3 into disarming blow, which the lunge's final hit chance apply frailty, which frailty just makes your opponent weaker. I think it's like 6%. Yeah, frailty reduces damage dealt by 6%, lasts 4 seconds, and stacks up to 3 times. And then I put the last 3 into Impairing Strike, which lunge final hit now immobilize enemies for a short duration. 3 out of 5 makes it for 3 seconds, which is nice to have. just so that when you get to that pack, that main enemy's stunned and you can use your ability. Now let's get into the main ability of this entire build and what kind of makes this build what it is. So the first thing I advise you to do when you get this skill is to go straight for this node right here called detonation. This is what makes the entire build, I promise. You're going to take it 5 out of 5 into whetstone, which is 20% melee, 20% fire, and extra melee and fire damage per second. Because this is a charged ability, so the longer you use it, the more damage it's going to do. Put 3 out of 5 out of forge scale. This is nice to have, but you also obviously need it to get here. But this is going to give you 30% armor shed per chance per second. Really good. But yeah, detonation is the main ability that you're going to need to make this build work, because usually you charge the ability and it goes in a cone shape in front of you only, but what detonation allows is it goes around your entire body. Okay, so this is very important. Now, this right here also is very important. As you see, when fully charged, Smelter's Wrath leaves behind a burning patch for 6 seconds, which ignites all enemies who are standing in it twice per second. So that means if they stand in it for the full 6 seconds, they will put 12 stacks of ignition on them, which is nice to have, because on top of this right here, this next one is crazy. 5 out of 5 in the Soldering Strike. I know you see what I'm looking at. Ignition chance per second plus 1,000. This ability takes, I think... Can I look? How long does it take to charge? Yeah, it takes like 2 to 3 seconds to charge. So that means you're doing 2 to 3,000 ignition chance per second. And on top of that, the ignition duration is plus 100%. So usually when I do this ability, it puts like 20 stacks of ignition on somebody off rip. And then the other important thing is you're going to want to get this right here, sulfurous sublimation. This does more fire damage over time per 1%, increased area, which is not very much. So, I mean, I just took this for the extra damage, really. You don't have to take this if you don't want, but I took it. And then I did 3 out of 5 in the blacksmith's breads. That gives you 30% charging speed. This is very useful because it takes a second to load, to charge up. So you definitely want to make sure you have at least 3 in here for 30% boost. And then I just took 1 in the heavy strike. Really, you could take this and put this here if you want to make it quicker, but I just took this because it says Smelter's Wrath deals more damage for each second channeled. So you do 10%, 15% extra damage. But yeah, this ability is really good. I'm going to do a little showcasing at the end of the video with, I posted a video before this of a little run through I did on like a map. It took like 3-4 minutes, but I'm just going to tag it on the end of this video as well so you can watch. The next skill is Smite. This one is very, very important. Not only is it going to give you ignition stacks, but it is also going to give you healing. So I took Fisher. You don't have to take this first, but it takes a little extra mana, but it spawns a Fisher under the target, dealing fire damage. So that's pretty dope. But this right here, these two are very important. Holy Fire. So you're gonna get 125% ignition chance, and mind you, our lunge is connected to Smite. So when we lunge into a pack, we're casting Smite, I think 3 times, 2 to 3 times. I think it does it. If you read right here, yeah, 3 nearby targets. So we're casting Smite 3 times. So if you times ignition chance by that, that's like what, 375, right? So a lot of ignition chance. And on top of that, you're going to do 2 in the here, which is going to give you a 40% chance to apply Spreading Flames, which is just going to do more fire damage and spread the flames throughout the pack, especially if you jump into a pack. And it does more fire damage over time. You're going to put 1 in the Holy Wave just to get over here. And then these 2 are very important. 3 in the Soothing Bomb, which is going to give you 75% health regen on heal and 30% mana regen on heal. Big, super big. And then you're going to want to put 5 in the 5 out of Grace to give you 200% smite healing. Also, once again, super big, because this build is constantly having to heal, because to use this ability, you have to stand still. And it charges for 2 to 3 seconds. So it's very important that usually I bounce into a pack, hit smite to heal, and then I hold my ability down. And we'll get into this ability in a second, but this is also very good to run. And then the final thing I ran on this build was 3 out of 5 in the Righteous Fury. You deal additional melee fire damage if you have hits with Smite recently. That's why I said it's important to use Smite first, because this is going to buff your main ability. But getting to the last skill here, Ring of Shields, once again, it's going to not only help with our health, but ignition. So, and adding more stacks of Ignite and fire damage. So you're going to put 5 out of 5 in the banding. This is going to give Shields have increased health and additional physical resistance. Holy shit. That's important. Take that. You're gonna put 1 into here into molten shields. It says shields take less fire damage and have a chance to ignite enemies that hit them. You're gonna you go over here and take this one. Shields now emanate forge flames, dealing fire damage over time to surrounding enemies, and then you put 4 out of 4 in the spin fire, which is shields deal more damage and shields rotate faster. As you see, 60+% damage and 60% rotation speed. I put 3 out of 5 in the touch by fire, which you deal additional fire damage with spells and attacks if that have cast Ring of Shield recently, so that helps with, once again, your main ability and smite. On top of that, took 3 out of 3 into Wreath in the Flame. You deal increased melee fire damage if you have a cast Ring of Shield recently. So once again, all really good for fire damage. Over here, I took 2 out of 2 in the Reinforcement. That gives you 2 extra shields on your thing, so that just kind of helps with even more fire damage, really, because now you have more shields. And then the last thing I took was 1 into healing shields. Every 6 seconds, each shield heals nearby allies. So once again, really good for healing. That's pretty much the whole build, honestly. It's a super fun build. I have been having a blast with this build. And yeah, I'm going to just throw in, you know, the little gameplay and showcase of this build. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure you leave a like and a sub. I'm gonna keep pumping these bad boys out, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep coming up with some really fun builds that I haven't seen too many people use yet, and that's why I really like this build, because I haven't seen anybody on any website talk about this build. I haven't seen anybody on YouTube talk about this build. But yeah, I appreciate everybody stopping by. Make sure you leave a like and a sub, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
cannot do that. I cannot do that. Do that. I cannot do that. Cannot do that. I cannot do that.